Well, I've always been into live music and buying records and tapes and so on. So end up going to see a band and you'd buy a record or a CD or a tape from the merch stall. Been doing it, well, I guess must be 40 years or so. My father used to take me to see jazz bands in the hall in Rotherham, and at university I was a member of the stage crew. So I used to do security at gigs and that, and so see 2 or 3 bands a week. And so after university, coming back up to Sheffield, the music scene then was in its ascendancy really. Places like the Now Society and all these great up and coming bands. Sheffield's music scene really started in the late 70s, I guess, when you got a bunch of students who were sort of going against what was being fed to them from the university and the Polytechnic. So they created their own society called the Now Society, which looked to just encourage local bands from the scene that were coming up. So you had the likes of Human League, Clock DVA, Cabaret Voltaire, vice versa, the Extras, 2.3, all these local bands who were sort of making it through the local music scene. And to some extent, over those since then, there's been a good sort of presence of the DIY scene in Sheffield. There's the likes of the Audacious Art Experiment and Delicious Clam, Lug Hole and Tie-Dye Tapes. They're the 4 main music DIY spaces in town. Okay, the idea for the record label was sort of, I guess, to give something back to the local music community that's given me a lot over the last 40 years. And I started off by getting pressings made through a local firm, Breed Media. So the first one was an indie band called The 90s, whose record came out earlier in the summer. And then the second one I produced was it's an old tape of a punk band from Sheffield called Stunt Kites, and that was in collaboration with Martin Lacey, who printed a fanzine called Safety Pin, and you buy the fanzine, you get the free record, sort of thing. And then lately I've acquired a vinyl cutting lathe with which to make short runs of handmade records for local bands who want to just produce short runs of things without going to the expense of many hundreds of vinyl records, which can be a significant expense. Although lathe cut records per unit are slightly more expensive, it means you can get a run, you can get something onto vinyl, even if it's only just one or a handful, or up to about 25 or 30. In terms of how it actually works, you get blanks of the appropriate size. We can do 5-inch vinyl, or 7 or 8 or 10 or 12-inch. You have to be warmed up while they're rotating on the platter, and then when it's at the correct temperature, 45 degrees, you then apply the cutting stylus as the music's playing, and the lathe has a motor in it which moves the arm slowly across, and as the platter spins and the vinyl cuts, you get your groove that you're used to on your ordinary pressed records. And all the time I'm monitoring for the constancy of the temperature, so I don't like it to go much away from 45 degrees, and also looking at the various meters that are attached to the lathe, so I can tell that the phase is okay and that the loudness is okay, and that I'm not getting the grooves too close together such that it's causing any problems. If you get the grooves too close together, you get problems. The tone arm sort of skips and jumps. But the good thing is that because it's based, the lathe is based on a Technics 1210 deck, as you're cutting it, you can actually monitor the quality. So as soon as the groove's being cut and the platter moves round, you've got the tone arm from the record deck, so you can listen about a second after it's been cut. You can actually listen to it in real time and work out if there's any problems or not, and stop it and start again. The lathe is made in Germany, and it's sold by a guy who's been making these lathes for about 20 or 30 years. I think he invented it. It runs off a Technics 1210 deck as the platter to turn the blanks round, and then this is his invention of the lathe, which basically you put your music through it, the electronic jiggery pokery at one end, and that comes down to a diamond cutting stylus at the other end, and it carves the vinyl in real time, the music that's been input. So I listen for quality purposes. I listen to every second of every record that's cut, which is yeah, quite something.